inherits an empire that is still fragile, and almost immediately he faces threats from every direction. Sher Shah sorely reases with force, pushing him into exile. Humayun's story becomes one of survival, determination, and humility. He loses his kingdom, walks through hardships, and watches the empire slip away. Yet he never gives up. His time in Persia changes him. He finds allies, gains support, and reconnects with the dream his father started. When he finally returns to reclaim his throne, the moment feels emotional and symbolic. It isn't just a political victory. It's a comeback defined by patience and resilience. Humayun's second chance allows him to stabilize the empire and prepare it for the greatness that his son will bring. His life teaches that empires are not built overnight. They grow through persistence and the ability to rise again after falling. By the end of this chapter, the Mughal Empire stands ready for a new era. All the struggles, defeats, and sacrifices become stepping stones toward a future that will soon shine with brilliance. With Akbar's arrival, the Mughal Empire changes direction. He steps onto the throne young, untested, and surrounded by challenges, but his vision is sharp. He knows that true power comes from stability, understanding, and the ability to bring people together. Akbar's leadership blends courage with wisdom. He expands the empire through strategy rather than brute force. His alliances with Rajput rulers, his administrative reforms, and his openness to different cultures create a strong foundation. He listens, learns, and adapts. His interest in philosophy brings scholars, thinkers, and artists into his court. The empire starts reflecting his belief that diversity strengthens a nation. Akbar doesn't limit himself to battles. He focuses on building a system that will survive beyond him. Under his rule, justice becomes fairer, trade grows, and the empire feels alive with ideas. His court becomes a center of innovation where art, culture, and knowledge flourish. This chapter captures how Akbar transforms the Mughal state from a kingdom of uncertainty into a powerful and unified empire. His leadership sets the tone for its most prosperous era and shows how vision can shape history. Under Jahangir, the empire enters a period where beauty becomes as important as power. He has a strong eye for detail and a deep love for nature. You see it in the paintings that fill his court, the gardens he designs, and the way he documents the world around him. Jahangir encourages artists to experiment with color, emotion, and realism. This era marks the rise of Mughal miniature painting, where every stroke tells a story. His decisions may not always be perfect, but his appreciation for aesthetics shapes the cultural identity of the empire. Jahangir's rule blends elegance with authority. He maintains stability and continues expanding his father's work and administration. Yet it is his artistic influence that makes his time stand out. Birds, flowers, landscapes, and human expressions become subjects of fascination. The empire feels lighter, more expressive, and more connected to the beauty of everyday life. This chapter shows how art becomes a language of power and how an emperor's personal taste can influence an entire generation of creativity. Shah Jahan's reign shines with grandeur. He brings architecture to its peak and leaves behind structures that seem to breathe elegance. The Taj Mahal becomes the heart of this chapter, a monument born from love and crafted with precision. Every curve, every stone, every reflection in the water feels intentional. It becomes a symbol of the Mughal spirit, a blend of imagination and mastery. But his contributions go beyond one monument. The Red Fort, Jama Masjid, and other masterpieces shaped the look of the empire for centuries. Shah Jahan's rule reflects confidence and refinement. The empire feels secure, prosperous, and full of artistic energy. Yet behind the beauty lies a growing tension. His ambitions demand resources, and the responsibilities of a vast empire continue to build pressure. Still, this chapter celebrates his legacy as the architect-emperor, the ruler who turned stone into poetry and made the Mughal Empire one of the most visually stunning civilizations in history. Aurangzeb brings discipline, focus, and determination to the throne. He expands the empire to its greatest size, stretching its borders farther than ever. His military campaigns are long and demanding, pushing the empire deep into the Deccan. But the cost is heavy. The wars drained the treasury and the soldiers. His stricter policies create friction in regions that once felt more connected. The empire grows outward, but weakens inward. This chapter explores the pressure that comes with overextension. While Aurangzeb's intentions might be rooted in control and order, the result is a structure stretched beyond its limits. You feel the tension as rebellions rise, alliances break, and the stability carefully built over generations begins to crack. The empire is still powerful, but the harmony that once defined it starts to fade. Aurangzeb's chapter shows how greatness can turn into burden and how the strongest rulers sometimes face the toughest consequences. As the journey comes to an end, you're left with the echoes of an empire that shaped the identity of a whole region. From Babur's first steps onto the plains of Hindustan to the quiet exile of Bahadur Shah's, the Mughal story moves through moments of triumph, beauty, conflict, and loss. What remains today are the traces of their vision, the arches of their forts, the symmetry of their gardens, the poetry of their courts, the languages that blended under their rule, the traditions that still influence daily life. The Mughal Empire didn't disappear. It transformed into heritage, memory, and inspiration. When you look back at their rise and fall, you see more than a historical timeline. You see how power grows when leaders understand people and how it weakens when connection fades. You see how creativity can become a nation's identity and how unity becomes its strength. This closing moment invites you to think about what makes a legacy last. The Mughals built with ambition, but they also built with imagination. Their story is a reminder that greatness is not measured only by territory or armies, but by the ideas, art, and culture that continue to live long after the throne is gone.